Alright, so here's where you should kind of start. Create a base layer and have your ground or your line going across, and then lock it so that you don't mess with it anymore accidentally. Create a new layer, draw your object, make sure this object has no stroke on it so that you don't accidentally mess up and have two separate objects. Convert it to a symbol. Alright, and then we're going to create a motion tween. Alright, so by 2 seconds I want to end up over here off of the page. So I need to figure out some sort of increment system. So I'm probably going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 bounce. So I want to make sure, try and get things as even as possible. Alright, so we're already on a motion tween. I click on the frame that I want, and then click on where I want it to go. And then I click on the next frame that I want it to be at, click where I want it to go, and then just repeat this. Remember, we want our object to not go as high as the previous bounce, just so that we obey the laws of physics and conservation of energy, those sort of things. Okay, so that's good enough. It doesn't have to go all the way over, and even what you could do is once it gets so low, you can just have it roll off screen. Alright, so if we just preview right now, this is what mine looks like. So that's a good starting point. Let's see, let's have this one just do another little hop. Okay. So one thing that we do need to adjust is to actually make our bounces curved, so they make like an actual bounce, not just up and then suddenly turn back down. So what we're going to do, right-click your selection tool and click Sub Selection Tool. Then you're going to click at the peak of each of your lines. Let's see if I can get it to do it. Alright, so make sure you're in your Sub Select tool, and then you're going to hold down Alt. You're going to click on your apex, click and hold it, and then drag it to left and right. If you hold down Shift, it'll make sure it's level or even with the x-axis. Find the curve you like, and then release your mouse. Okay, and then just double check. Alright, now do the same thing for the next one. Sub-select tool, hold down Alt, click on the apex, and Shift, and drag to the left till you find a curve that you like. Double check it. Alright, we're going to do this again for this last one. Make sure you have the white box there, not the black one. Okay, find the curve you like. Shift, Alt Shift. Okay. Alright, so let's preview that. There we go. Alright, Alright, so that worked. So now we have our framework for our bouncing. Now we need to adjust our object with squash and stretch. So what we actually need to do is look at our properties for our transform. Alright, and to get to our transform window, go up here, click on window, and then we're going to go down to transform. Alright, now what this is going to allow us to do is to adjust our width and height, as well as our rotation if we needed to, or the skew, and so on and so forth. Here we don't need to worry about, because we're obviously doing a 2D animation, not a 3D animation. So we're just going to worry about this top part. Now the important thing to remember is you need to maintain the mass and volume. So if you decrease this by 5%, you need to increase this by 5%, so that we're going along the same boundaries. Alright, so we got to figure out where we want to start our squash and stretch. We obviously want it to end here. So somewhere on these, probably 3 frames right here. And you could just do small increments even. So find the frame, click your object, and then you can just manually type for this one. So if we went like 95%, then 105%. So you can see it's a little bit taller and a little more skinny. Then we go to the next frame. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to go to the next frame with the shortcut key, and it's not working on me. Alright. And then we can increase or decrease this and increase that. And then again, go over one more. Select your object. 85, 115. Go over one more frame. Now here, obviously it's hitting, so we want this to be more of our squash. So let's do this and see how this kind of looks if we need to go more. Okay, so that's probably fine. Yours might not be touching all the way. We'll adjust that in a minute. But now we just basically need to do the same thing. Control Z so I can undo whatever I just did. So go to the next frame, and then we're gonna basically just do the opposite. So basically what we had on the left side should be the same what we had on the right. Okay. 90, 110. 95, 105. Okay, so this kind of. Alright. Don't forget, if you have an object that is more rigid and firm like a golf ball, there's not going to be a lot of change in your squash and stretch. So instead of going 5%, you might only go 1 or 2% both directions, so on and so forth. All right. So I'm going to quickly just kind of go ahead and go to these other ones. Anytime you get to the peak, your object should definitely be back at its normal 100%, 100%. So if you wanted to even take these numbers and then just kind of go increments, like 1, 2, 3. So we need to 2%, 2%, 1%, or something like that. But for right now, let's just worry about these sections right here. One thing you can do is go to your impact point and just start from there. So we know this is going to be a lot wider than it is tall, but if we come back to this frame, we have 115 and 85. Let's see, 112. Okay. The reason why I did these separate numbers is because, and you don't have to, you can keep with your 5 increments. From here to here, you're losing energy. So you wouldn't be squashing and stretching as much. So I'm showing how I think it would look, but you can, of course, just stick with your 5% increments. So now I'm just going to go back from here. So that's at 112. And it looks to be doing it kind of for me. So that's nice. But we can still go to like 107, 93. 102, 98. All right. So then we should do the same thing. 107, 93. $102.98. Come to your next one. So I had 112.88. So we can just go. Here. And let's play and see what this looks like. Okay. So that doesn't look too bad. There's some things that I would change. Like personally, I think either this needs to be over more or these need to be spread out more. But it's fine for a first attempt. All right, so don't forget, use your transform to adjust your percentages for your y-axis and x-axis. Make sure you have your motion tween and you have, at least 3 bounces. Don't go more than 2/3 higher than your previous bounce, and do all your curves and then squash and stretch. When you're done with that, export it, file export, video media, export, and then once video media encoder closes or opens and then processes it, make sure you turn in the MP4 file.